Sir.
All right, welcome. Thank you for coming on. Please introduce yourself, what your name is, what year you are in, and what program.
100%. Thank you for having me on, Yash. My name is Kobe Lee. Some people know me as the Black Mamba or the Yellow Mamba, whatever you want to say. Yes, I was actually named after Kobe Bryant, so the basketball DNA is in me, I guess. I'm a second year integrated biomedical engineering and health sciences student. It's the iBiomed program. Yeah, super happy to be on, and thank you.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
When Veer told me all about you, I was just like, yeah, this guy, he has to be on you. This guy's a legend, bro.
Don't say that yet, but I'm getting there. I'm trying.
All right, let's get right into it.
Sir.
The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. A lot of students are trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, but very few are trying to figure out who they want to help. When did you realize you didn't just want success, but you really wanted to make an impact?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question because I think I've always been the ambitious kind, and like that's been a constant. So I'll talk about that, I'm sure, later on.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me was discovering like how exactly I want to make an impact. Right? Everyone makes an impact. Everyone can leave their mark on the world, but it's what form, right? So I think in high school, I was initially pretty shy. Like going through grade 9, grade 10, COVID eased up. I ran for student council vice president. And, in a school of 1,000 kids, there's no small feat when I got elected in grade 11. And that was kind of the shifting moment where everything I did afterwards was different. Because it was all about me before. It was always like, oh, how can I make it to the next level in basketball? How could I ace this test? How can I do this for my specific friend? But from that moment on where I'm making impact on the entire school, it really kind of flipped the switch in my brain and has really led to all the other initiatives that I kind of started off from that point. So it was grade 11, September 2022, when I got elected there, that kind of really altered my perspective.
Yeah. So in high school, you were kind of just like, it's not mainly about all that success that I gain. I want to really make that true impact. Doesn't matter who it may be, the students, maybe people. Bro, that's inspiring.
Yeah, and
that's
so
inspiring.
I'll elaborate more on that because a lot of people see me as like not empathetic. That's like the biggest thing that a lot of people say to me, like whether it be my family, whether it be my closest friends, my girlfriend, they all tell me that. And my response to that is that it's not that I don't care, it's that I care in a different way. Right?
Yeah.
So you might have the different love languages, whatever, giving, acts of service or whatever. And mine kind of falls under that acts of service or that macro level thinking where, like, Yash, if you were to tell me your problems, I'm not going to sit here with you and I would, honestly, you're a great guy. And, but it would be more in my interest, of course, to help you by doing something that's going to actually make a difference, right? So a lot of people will sit there and they'll complain with their friends and they'll be like, oh, it's cooked, whatever, we're cooked, and I feel for you, and they'll really get into it and be able to, in that sense, empathize, sympathize with that person they're talking to. But for me, my brain almost immediately flips to, okay, so if my friend Yash is suffering from this issue, okay, well, who's to say that my other friend is not going through the same thing? And who's to say that, there aren't 2,000 people at MAC going through the same course who are going through the same midterm and that same moment in time? And so my mindset's always kind of like, now, given that this person is going through X, Y, Z, and that there's so many other people that are going through X, Y, Z, how can I take a step back and actually just make a difference in all these people's lives? That's kind of always been my mindset. And it's goofy because my friends will be complaining about this. I'm thinking about a solution already in terms of how can I make a difference in this world. So that's kind of like a simplified version of what goes on in my head, but it's always just, how can I zoom out? And so that's why I went back to that experience of, when I'm making and organizing events for the entire school, making decisions. And my biggest mark that I left was I changed the bell schedule. So after grade 12, they have a new bell schedule now. They had a new influx of 200 students, and I was able to maintain that common lunch, and they were trying to get rid of a bunch of things and, standing up and making a difference for not only the people I was closest to, but now everyone in that school. And for the years after that, they're still using that same bell schedule that I was able to come up with and advocate for. So that's kind of always been my mojo and something that I'm hopefully proud of. Of course, there are situations where it's awkward and I'm not super. People say I have a low EQ, but in my mind, I have a higher EQ because I'm able to like understand you so much so
Yeah.
that I can take a step back and actually make a difference for you. So
Yeah.
that's why like it's not that I'm not human. That's not that I'm robotic. It's that I'm almost so human that I empathize with you so much that I'm able to take a step back and help you out. So that's kind of my thinking. And maybe it's a little egotistical because I do have to work on some of that that present moment kind of awareness.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that's kind of my hot take per se, if you will.
I mean, it's not that much of a hot take. Like, I think it's valid to kind of have those opinions and how you view other things, right?
Yeah.
Like, the way that's actually insane. Like, how you change the bell schedule and the entire school is still follows until this day. That's insane. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That's pretty sick. Yeah. But like, going off of that, have you ever maybe in some moment during your high school, maybe even during right now, have you ever felt a little bit of like envious towards other people, or like, okay, this guy's doing so much, I should be doing that? Have you ever felt that way before?
You know what? I'd like to say yes, because there are moments, of course, where I'll feel envious. I'll go on LinkedIn and see people who are doing great things.
LinkedIn, man.
LinkedIn, worst platform ever, bro.
I hate it.
I hate it, bro. If you're in first year and you're watching this, just stay off that.
Stay off.
As long as possible, don't get LinkedIn. But generally, I think I don't look at other people and have that define my success as much as other people might. And I see a lot of other people who will go on LinkedIn. I recently got premium, so I can see who views my profile most often.
Yeah.
And like, I see
you probably saw me stalking it.
I don't think I checked recently, but that's all right. That's fine. But you're preparing for the question.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I go through that less, and that's why I'm able to kind of confidently like post on Instagram, things like that. And I don't really care what other people think because again, my view is so macro of the world. Like right now, I'm not thinking about passing my classes or even getting to med school, even though that's one of my goals. But it's like, how can I make a difference in this? How can we solve world hunger? Like that's like what I'm thinking in the everyday. So it's really difficult to throw me off my track when I know my goals and my ambitions, and honestly, my calling in life is so much grander than all these small things that in the grand scheme, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean I don't stress. Like, of course, midterms are still coming up. I'll still have those moments of stress, but it's never as much as the people around me. So I think I'm gifted in that sense that thankfully I don't feel that way. But also it's a result of how I've trained my mindset to be so macro. And it's a lot of like macro, micro thinking that I'll allude to a lot, but yeah, that's where it started.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the school? How do you deal with everything else that you're doing? How do you balance all of those? Because I know that a lot of students, they struggle with that. A lot of them, they probably give most of their focus into straight up all midterms, all of school. Some people have 4.0 GPA, still can't get a job. Some people have every single extracurricular, but bad grades. How do you balance all of that?
It's a tough economy, man. Like, job market is cooked.
Fried.
Yesterday,
Fried.
Right? So, for context, right, I run a nonprofit called 2020 Mission. We have over 40 volunteers all over Canada. This has been a thing since grade 11. And the goal is to help people see, right? Like, I don't know if you wear glasses or contacts at all. Or,
I'm blind as shit.
Oh, man. I wear contacts too, right? So, of course, we're privileged enough to have that access to eye care and these eye exams where you can get what you need. But there's a surprising stat that got me started, which is 1.1 billion people have eye issues and don't have access.
Wow.
So that's an eighth of the world. And to think of that number is like kind of ridiculous because it's so overlooked. Like, people think, oh, like emergency room, surgery, that's what healthcare is. But no, it's like, it's so much bigger than that. There's so many social consequences of not being able to see that got me started. So that's one note, right? And yesterday we're kind of hiring for 2020 Mission. We put a project up on Ripen. And I was going through the resumes and everything, and it's so cooked.
Yeah,
it's so cooked. There's so many people looking for opportunities, but kind of building off that, my mindset's always been, how can I fit more into my everyday life? And I think people are pretty shocked when I open up my calendar or they see it, and that ties into it, man. Like, people, like, because there's so much going on, and because I have the capacity to do more, I'm always like, let's fit more in. Why not? Because there's never a harm to it. I think there's only benefit to being able to put more into your everyday and to give more effort, to do more things, to be able to leave an impact. And because I'm so passionate about a bunch of different things, it's really easy for me to to do it. It's not a hassle or anything. So I'm always trying to do more, trying to fit more into my life. That's always a priority for me.
But don't you think if you continuously fit a lot more rather than focusing on like 2 or 3 things at once, actually
100%.
putting your full attention into it,
Yeah.
don't you think that's a little bit better than having little by little?
Yes.
What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
So that's another one of my takes is that it doesn't matter. Like sometimes people ask me, yo, should I do this in the summer? Should I do this in the summer? Right. So what are you going to do this summer, Yash?
Try to find a job.
A job?
But I'm also creating a charity. I'm also creating, I'm building the podcast, content creation.
There we go. That's 3 things.
Yeah.
And if I told you, okay, you got to do this other extracurricular commitment for 1 hour a week, do you think you fit that in realistically?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a prime example of like, and I didn't even tell you what it was. Let's say it was something you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really difficult to make the extra hour a week for that thing? What if I told you right now, this startup's hiring $60 an hour, 10 hours a week? Would you take that job as well? Probably. So you can see how it compounds.
Probably.
And that's my basic thing. Like it's never a matter of like too much because I'm passionate about so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's a limit to it, and like you got to get your sleep and everything too. But for a lot of people, it's there's 3 things I don't like. Which 2 should I pick? But for me, I see it as there's a million things I like. How can I fit as many of them as possible into my schedule? And so that's always my mindset and something that's been able to get me through, because a lot of people see it as a chore. They see finding a summer job, man. I'm grateful to be able to have the chance to work, and I love doing it. I would never work a job I don't like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So given that, it's really not too bad once you train your mind to be able to process things, and I think also find your passions. A lot of people nowadays just don't know what they like.
Oh, that's true. That's so true.
Right? And I think you found it, and you found something that you're passionate about, and now we're sitting down having, possibly a long conversation about something like this, right? So, yeah. What got you started?
Oh, for me, man, it's true to really make that impact, because I realized there's too much negativity in this world.
Yes.
There's so much negativity. I've seen that everywhere. I've seen that on campus. I've seen that outside of my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I don't care how many followers I gain. I don't care how many people view my story. I don't care how much hate I get. As long as I feel like I know I'm creating that positive impact, as long as I know people's lives are changing by the things I do, I know that for a fact in my life, I'll be fulfilled.
Yes.
Because throughout my life, I'm not going to say, oh, I was a goody two-shoes. I've been the best kid, right? I've made a bunch of mistakes, and I'm sure you have as well. Mm-hmm. Right? I've made a bunch of mistakes. I have messed up really badly sometimes.
Which you're good, bro.
Right?
Don't worry.
Yeah. And I just realized from those, it's like I would want other people to learn from my mistakes so that they don't make the same mistake. I may be young, right? But I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. You still make the same mistakes. Mm-hmm. You're never going to know everything. Doesn't matter how old you get. You're never going to be, I don't know, like the wisest person alive.
Never.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And yeah, I think it's so great to have people be passionate about things like this, because people are so caught up in their own things and negativity. Good on you for starting this. And hopefully whoever's watching this can also feel inspired.
Exactly. That's the main thing.
So not to do this, but to do what you're passionate about.
Yes.
Find what you like, man. And just go do it.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Bro, that's the main thing. A lot of people do jobs that they hate every day.
Yeah.
Like, bro, the corporate life, so many adults I've seen, miserable. They hate what they do, but they stay in it because of the money.
Yes.
They stay in it. Yes, job market is cooked right now, but just work harder to find that you really want to do.
Yes.
Right? Why are you just continuously complaining about your life when you could actually make a change?
Yes.
Do it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes, bro. So this is like one of the things I like to tell people is like the difference between normal people and athletes is like athletes went for their dream and they actually achieved it. And most often than not, they're more passionate and they work harder for what they like and they end up achieving it. Whereas the normal person, they also have their dreams. But maybe they're not as passionate. Mm-hmm. They don't follow through as much. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they don't end up achieving that status and that kind of dream life that they've always wished for. But I think if people really, really find what they are 100% passionate about and just go for it 100%, there's no way that doesn't work out. It's just that most people don't go for it 100% or they don't find their true passion. And that's hard too. I'm not saying it's easy to find whatever your passion is. It's honestly hard. But once you find it, go all in.
Mm-hmm. Facts, exactly. Go all in and truly put your mind, your body, your soul into that thing. Doesn't matter how many times you fail, keep failing. Yeah, because bro, what if that one time it works?
Yes.
Literally, I've seen so many successful people. They've failed. My father, for example, he's failed countless times in his life.
Yeah.
He always gets back up. He always tries to find another solution. And now there you go. His business is running. He's doing great, right? He's supporting us. He's supporting his family, which I'm forever grateful of, right?
It's a great practical piece of advice too, is that like, if you're passionate enough about one thing and you work so hard towards it, even if it fails and you have a pivot.
Exactly.
Whereas if you just live mindlessly into doing things that you don't want to do anyways and you're half-assing them, it's never going to work out. And so that's why I've developed that. And of course, I have various different passions. So I just go for all of them. But yeah, if it doesn't work out, I can guarantee I'll find a job based on the people I know, based on the skills I've developed, based on all that, because I work so hard towards my passions. Not that I just work hard blindly, which a lot of people do. Then there's no pivot, right? Like if your whole goal is to become a lawyer, and you don't become a lawyer, oh, dude, I don't know, man. You're not passionate about it either. Like it's really hard to pivot. But if you're just so passionate and you care and work hard towards your passions, it'll always work out.
Facts. Exactly. And that's something people have to start to comprehend, actually like realize that and understand that.
Yeah.
Going off of that, I want to ask you, I actually asked this to a lot of people, a lot of my guests. Have you ever in your life, growing up, maybe even now, like have you ever felt that kind of self-hatred before? And how did you overcome it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think self-hatred is pretty strong, but there were definitely moments where like I'd be too negative about things, right? Like basketball is obviously a huge part, and I was always trying to play in university, and that's something that I still haven't fully let go of, I don't think. But I remember grade 10, I was on a really great travel team. Basically, we were Canada Elite Vancouver, so basically the best club in Toronto, the Vancouver branch of it. And I was playing with these kids, and in my grade 10 spring, that tryout, I got cut. And from then on, it was just, I view basketball as almost this negative thing that is like taken away from me. Whereas I failed to appreciate all the things that they did give me. And so back to what we said, it's like when that passion turns into something that feels like a chore, feels like I'm out here to get revenge on people, I'm here to like prove myself, it's more often downhill than not, right? So I think I had that a bit of self hatred, as you might want to say, but more so just less of a passion for it because people doubted me, because it didn't work out, because of whatever else. But I think that's one of those moments that I look back on, and I wish I handled that situation better, because it was a huge moment in my life and a huge pivot in terms of my shifting priorities. But instead of viewing it as a privilege that I've gone to play basketball on this great team over the past couple of years, and now I get to focus on high school basketball and my studies, I viewed it as such an unfortunate event, as such a heartbreaking moment where I wasn't able to continue and pursue my passion, where, if I really had thought about it further back then, I would have. So I have another initiative. It's called the ELEV Asian All-Star Game.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of it, right? Like, I think people used to call me a chink on the court, and I was always just like, damn, that's stupid, bro. I was pissed off, right? And, reasonably so. But back then, I don't think I had that same macro thinking where, like, I was just like, how can I get past this hurdle? How can I get people to believe in me as a basketball player, this 5'8", fucking Chinese guy, right? So for me, I wish I developed that mindset earlier and stopped viewing it as such a impediment to my future well-being and success, and just turn it into something where I can impact people. Because I think the strongest and most resourceful people are always those who can extract from their own experiences and be able to impact others. And that's kind of what I've done in all the other aspects of my life now. I really wish back then I understood this earlier and not got so hung up about that one moment where, man, it was just a tryout. It was basketball, grade 10. It was not that deep. And I really thought it was that deep, and didn't act appropriately off of it. Right? Not that I went ballistic and started cursing people out or anything like that. It was like I accepted it, but I accepted it in a way that didn't allow me to pivot and bounce back from that. And I just fell into this slump and kept going downhill for a bit. Right.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I feel like a lot of people have kind of went through the similar phase. Like even I, for example, I've went through the same thing, right? I also played ball, right? Like, for example, I played in the AAU team, and then we went to the US. It was 8 a.m. 6'3" ball players.
Yeah.
Windmilling at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And I realized there's levels to this shit.
A lot of levels.
I realized there's levels to this shit.
Yes.
I was just like, yeah, no way.
Yeah.
No way a brown kid is gonna make it. Right? You see that negative mindset right there. Yeah. That already put me down.
Yes, bro.
Sure, right? But why didn't I try? Why didn't I practice more?
Or at least have that delusion that you can.
Exactly. Exactly.
As soon as you like put yourself down and you think it's just like you victimize yourself, then it's very hard to bounce back.
Exactly. See, a lot of people, they victimize themselves in the worst case scenario. Think about the best case scenario.
Yeah.
What if it actually does work out?
Yeah.
What if you actually do better than them? What if you actually win the game?
Yes.
What if you score more points than their best player?
Yes, bro.
Right?
100%. Yeah, you got it.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, try not to victimize yourself early on. Try to think of the best case scenario before anything else.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's something a lot of people struggle with. That's something you have to realize. The more you put yourself in the best case scenario, the more you put yourself in your future about how good it will be, the better the outcome, because you're going to figure out the steps to actually get to that place.
Yes. See, this guy knows. And to build off that, like a lot of people are like, yo, okay, what if it actually does it? Because you know what? Like there is a bit of realism that we need to have in everything, right? Whether it's sports or academics or career-wise. Yes, be realistic, but you have to have that delusion and that belief in yourself to some extent, because you'd rather go through everything. Like even if there's a worst case and there's a best case, right? And let's say the realistic situation falls somewhere in the middle. If you approach that situation in the worst case mindset, bro, you're just approaching it with negativity. Let's say you approach it with the best case mindset and you still end up at the realistic point, which I think you would get higher than that, right? But at least you're going about it positively. At least you're going about it in a way that it's going to benefit you and people around you. So yeah, even if you want to be realistic, but be positive about it. Right?
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. What have I learned from this? Right?
Exactly.
Sure. Okay, maybe you might not get it. You might not get that role. But what have you learned from it? What did you learn from the interview? What did you learn from hooping against other players?
Yeah.
What could you do better? It's all a learning experience. No matter how many times you may think, be realistic, I'm going to fail, whatever. Be positive about it at least.
Yes.
Think about how much you've gained, the experience you've gained, right? So tell me more about your what was it, the basketball?
Yeah, ELEV Asian.
ELEV Asian,
right.
Yes. Tell me more about that. Like,
yeah.
I understand you said there was a lot of like racism around in the court, and you wanted to actually create a change in that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's called ELEV Asian because we're trying to elevate Asian basketball players, and especially mainstream sports like basketball, soccer. It's tough, right? It's tough for people of Asian heritage. Like, it's yellow skin, brown skin people. It's way harder to get to these higher levels. And I wanted to make a change in that because there are so many talented players out there. It's sometimes just a matter of exposure, confidence in themselves, and being able to play at that next level. It's the jump from high school to university that's honestly a little bit tough for these athletes. So the idea came around to me, I think last year in May or June. And I decided, why not just do it? See, that goes back to it. Like, why not? Like, how can I not fit this into my schedule? It's not going to be that big of a commitment, at least not in my eyes, because I'm passionate about it. So I got some people together, coaches, media creators from back home, and got together like 10-ish people.
Where are you from? You're from Vancouver, right?
Vancouver.
Yes.
So that's where I wanted to enact it because that's where I grew up. That's where I played basketball growing up, and it's something that I was truly passionate about. So I was able to do that. We're honestly not so successful at first, but we had the facility booked, everything done, and pretty much no sponsorship money came in.
Yeah.
But in December, everything kind of took off, and in the week leading up to it, I mean, we sold in total 900 tickets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Holy.
So for a first ever event, that was incredible. So I don't know exactly how many people came, but that's insane. At least 500 plus in the building at the same time.
That's crazy.
It was honestly crazy. Yeah. Something that I'm very proud of. People noticed that Instagram, you can see the professional dashboard and how many people, viewed your profile or saw a piece of content. It was a 1.5 million.
Oh,
So
okay.
people coming from Ontario DMing, can I play? People from Alberta.
Yeah.
People noticing it everywhere. And that's exactly the type of large scale impact I want to make. Not just, again, for those 40 athletes who are able to
that's
play,
crazy.
right? But it's about like making that bigger change. And that's where the conversations start. And I think sometimes people just got to take that step. And I had that idea for a bit and just acted on it. And I hope other people can too, because it's stuff like that where people don't take action on. And it's such a random, it's not related to my studies, probably not related to my future career as much, probably not even that appropriate for me to be in Ontario coordinating a team of 10 people in BC to be doing this. Yeah, I said, why not? And just did it. And, turned out for the better. And
it's because you're passionate about it.
Yes. And of course I wish for the best case scenario. And I was like, you know what, let's do this. 10K in sponsorships. Let's get 500 people out there. And even if it was a realistic scenario of like, okay, we had 200 people at the event, that would have been fun. I approached it with a positive mindset and it ended up being
200 people still is crazy.
It still would be crazy, right? So, and that was like realistic. And I was so ambitious with that it ended up working out in the ambitious and high end side of things anyways.
Yeah. I mean, bro, that's crazy. Holy shit. 900 tickets. First event is 2?
Yes. First ever event. So hopefully we're running that back next year. Keep an eye out. It might eventually even become like a national thing where we fly athletes out to this one event.
Hey, check his Instagram. I'll also put it into the bio.
Thank you.
ELEV Asian, right? Yes, I'll definitely put that in there. That's crazy, bro. So I know you did this and you have that 2020 vision. How did that, like, I remember you told me the idea started because we're both blind people, right? Yes. and then you did the research about it. Like, how did that fully come into place? Did you get other people all along with it? I even saw a video where you went to the Dominican. Yes, you went to the Dominican. How did that happen as well?
Yeah, so a lot of things kind of came into it, and it's grown over time. So I'll take you back to grade 11, which is the grade 11 summer when I was like not doing anything that summer, but I had this idea. And so again, same thing, I acted on it. Why not just do it? And hopefully this is a good example that everything always just works out better than you expect if you just always aim high and be positive about things. So first ever week, we collected maybe 400 pairs of glasses, which is kind of crazy. We just visited a bunch of random optometry clinics. Like, we're high school students, and it was me and my 2 closest friends, and we went about this and got really lucky, honestly. We, again, collected so many glasses that first week that it really only snowballed from there. So since that day, we've collected pretty much near 8,000 pairs of glasses. On top of that, we've done outreach missions to Guatemala, the Dominican Republic, Fort McKay, First Nations in Alberta, and during the summer, we'll be donating a big portion of our glasses to a rural community in Ghana. And so kind of all these initiatives were, again, a culmination of being consistent and working on this over time. Of course, like I'm so passionate about it. And so throughout grade 11, throughout grade 12, first year, second year, 3+ years in the making, we've been able to do a lot of things and impact a lot of people, and hopefully it'll continue, because it's honestly, there are organizations that do similar things as us, but there's always more need, right? 1.1 billion. That stat is just insane, right? 1.1 billion people have some sort of eye issue and have no treatment for it. That's 1/8 of the world, and people overlook this so much that, I want people to understand that and, of course, make an impact, because, I think when I went to Guatemala and the Dominican, like, you see people's situations and you see how privileged we are in Canada to have access to all this. And again, they didn't have, of course, eyewear. They didn't have food either, right? They didn't have cars. They didn't have front doors. They didn't have much, but being able to empathize with that. And instead of like, yes, we were there and we helped them, but again, it goes back to that zoom out lens where I'll empathize with these people and I'll understand, but at the end of the day, it takes larger scale systemic efforts. It takes zooming out to the policy level, to the international development landscape, to be able to fully make a difference. And that's kind of ultimately the career I'm working towards. Like, it'll either be like in public health or public policy, where hopefully I can make that bigger impact on people and be able to leave my legacy and fulfill, I think, my purpose that I've realized in life.
How did you feel when you saw the other people who didn't have food and they didn't have like front doors, cars. How did you feel in that moment?
Yeah. In the moment, it was definitely like, damn. It was tough, right? And that's why, like, I say it's a life-changing moment, but not just in the sense that, like, I realized how privileged we were. Less in that sense, right? But yeah, when we went there and I was able to see all this, I really thought about, like, what I want to do with my life, right? And it's not just like, oh, every year we're going to go back there and give them glasses. How is that impacting the rest of the people all around the world? Again, that 1.1 billion number of individual stories and individual households and individual people who all suffer from that. How can we make a difference on everyone? And that's kind of the conclusion I came away with. And that's why I say it's life-changing. Although you can interpret that as also as like realizing how privileged we were and how much of a difference we can make to individual people. But for me personally, at least, it's like figuring out what my purpose is. And I think that's on the larger scale, because I think I have different traits and qualities that kind of lend well to leadership in that sense. That's kind of ultimately the takeaway, the big takeaway from those missions.
Yeah. I know we talk a lot about how we should actually take action into doing what we want to do, right? Such as the 2020 vision.
Yes.
But what's your thought process during that? Like, how do you go from this is the idea, these are the processes, and this is how I'm going to execute it? How do you go about that?
Yeah. So I'll break this down to two. So in terms of how we actually got started and did things was to just start, because when you have things that are organized, when you think of this idea for this organization or this club or whatever you want to call it, and you start creating an email, creating an Instagram for it, dude, that's not the right move. If you have an idea, just go actually do it and not rely on taking on these small things to help validate it. You don't need to validate it. You need to go try to validate it. So we didn't have anything. We just, one day we were like, yo, let's print out some brochures. Let's go collect some glasses. And that's what we did. We had no Instagram, no social media presence until later on. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that we were able to do it. But imagine we had set that all up, made a website, recruited volunteers, and then we started. What if it failed, bro? Then that's a common situation that people run into, because you put on such a pedestal of like, this is, oh, I'm going to do this. And again, waiting.
The dopamine.
Yeah, it's the dopamine.
The dopamine.
Right? And what if you just tried it first and then figured it out? And that's kind of, I think the approach that more people need to take, and that's kind of what we did. And honestly, I didn't even think too much about the fact that we didn't start social media or anything. But now that I'm reflecting on it, really grateful that we didn't. And we just went and tried, because if we didn't try, we would have never known that there was so much potential. We would never have been so motivated, because that initial dopamine of setting things up, of having this idea, is already enough for people to say, okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So
for
us, that was how it is. But on the larger scale, honestly, I don't, and maybe this is a little negative here, but I don't think everyone's built for doing these bigger things.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And it's tough because, not that I want to exclude people to various roles, but in our world, there can only be so many people who are doctors of the world. There are so many people who can be right on Wall Street, and that's like the unfortunate truth that I'm starting to think about more, because before it was like, I think whatever you dream, you can achieve, and I still think you should have that mindset. But at the end of the day, I just know that there are certain people around me that are just going to be built for this, and I still encourage them to be the president of the United States. Like, yo, go for it all, because that's an important, positive thing that we need more of in this world. But at the end of the day, there are only going to be so many people who can start something like 2020 Mission, and that some people just won't be built for it. And not to say that's a bad thing, but there are just different constructs in society where people need to fall into, and that's going to be how it goes. And not everyone's going to. And maybe this is a little bit egotistical, right? Because I think I have that kind of zoomed out lens and that systems level understanding of the world and how to make an impact. But I don't think a lot of people have that understanding. And I don't think that everyone can be in the role that I'm in. So it's not just a free for all, you can do whatever you want to do in this world. It's that you should always have what you want to achieve, whether that be being the smartest, the nicest, the most talented, most successful person in the world as your goal, but also knowing that eventually you'll be in a role where it fits you best. And I don't know, I feel like there's been a calling for me to do work on that higher level, and I've just got to go achieve it now. So, yeah, it's kind of like, oh, we're all stuck in the rat race, but I think we're racing towards different things is what I tell people because, because I have that passion, because I have that kind of different understanding of the world than other people might do. That's kind of what I've come to the realization for. And again, I want to emphasize again, it's not that you shouldn't have the goal of being the best ever in your mind, but I feel like there are some people who are just limited in the sense of what they ultimately will do. And it's kind of hard to explain because this kind of just sounds like, just not everyone's built for it. But I think everyone's going to have that mindset that they are. But acknowledging that some people are meant for different things is totally reasonable. And on a more positive outlook, it might be like, maybe you're the next best neurosurgeon and then you're going to cure some very, very rare disease and be able to make an impact that way. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Whereas that's definitely not my suited kind of fit in my future career. And for me, it might be, again, on that public health, global health lens and being able to impact a lot of people. That's where I see myself being called to. So people have different areas where they have, just a way of thinking, because it's hard to like change how someone processes it and thinks about things. And it's really too late to make me change how I think about all these things and zooming out. And I never look at the Mills Commons area and just focus on a couple of people. I just like here, we're zooming out and all these people studying away. And that's kind of one of my takes as well, is that, like, of course, have that positive outlook, but at the end of the day, everyone has a different kind of calling to do. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Have you ever felt overwhelmed when a lot of these things were just continuously overlapping within each other? Yeah. Once again, how'd you deal with that? Because I'm sure a lot of people will know how to deal with such things.
And hopefully this is like more practical advice. I think having a system is really what's most important. And the system is not block out your calendar. That's what it is for me, but it's not necessarily that. And some people's systems is to have a notes app, have it all in their mind, whatever it is, but have a system that you can eventually follow. And this is kind of like, building that routine, building habits, building discipline. But that's how it starts. And you'll find ways that work well for you. You'll find ways that don't work well for you. And you just got to be able to find a system. Once that's set, then it's way easier to build on top of that. And I have my own bias towards, I have pretty much a Google Calendar, and I book to the minute every single thing in my day, right? Every single thing down to the minute.
Lunch, gym, sleep, whatever.
Sleep, everything. And so that helps me, and I think that's one of the better ways to do it, but it doesn't have to be. And I know people who are just as busy as me who don't necessarily go into that level of detail, but they'll have a very detailed paper notebook of things, and they'll have different sticky notes on their laptop and a bunch of different ways to do it. And I feel like there's a lot of ways you can do it. But as long as you find a system and at least work towards building that system and that reliability and that consistency, you'll get somewhere with that. So, but people are always kind of like, I don't know, should I use this template on Notion? I'm like, at that point, you're thinking too deep into it, because it just takes starting it. And once you have a way of organization, you're going to be able to build onto it much easier, So that's kind of my best advice for people. And definitely, I think Google Calendar is probably the most ideal way for
I'm like my Google Calendar, I have it also like that.
Good.
Yeah. So how do you deal with, I'm sure you've actually dealt with this. How do you deal with expectations from other people, whether it may be your friends, your family? Have you dealt with that, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, that I'm still figuring out, to be honest, right? So it's okay to be figuring things out. At least for me recently, because in the past 2 years, I've taken up so many different things. It's tough for me to, it's kind of like the corporate life of like, they don't reply to emails and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I feel. It's just like, even if I get everything done, there's always more to do. So you could say that like there's an expectation of me to get this done and finish this on time. And, I might be lacking on a couple of things. And even then, like, I'm a very like pretty reliable person. They need something from me, but like recently I forgot this kid I was writing a reference letter for, I forgot the deadline. So stuff like that, it does build up, and that's why I'm still working on it and figuring it out. But I think it definitely builds on my system, and my system of organization, as long as that's robust and something that I follow, it'll eventually work out fine. And that's something I'm working towards. But there's definitely a lot of expectation, and it's never created pressure for me. I think even if you want to call it pressure, pressure is still a privilege in that sense. But those expectations is out of the love that people have for me that I would reciprocate. It's out of the things I'm passionate for. And so at the end of the day, it's not pressure, it's not expectations, it's just what I have to do. And of course, sometimes when it is tough and when, you know, things get busy, it is sometimes a hassle and, you know, it takes time to get things done. And I might be late on this thing or that thing. But in the end, it all works out fine. And because I'm so passionate, there's not one thing you can point to in my life that I don't really like or I don't really care about. I'm doing just to do it. It all is building towards this ultimate vision that I see for myself, making an impact. And everything builds on that. So of course, if I'm passionate about that, I'm passionate about all these things in between. You know?
True. Yeah. I feel like I can't even lie. I have expectations, right? A lot of people, they want me to do certain things in life.
Yeah.
Want me to learn AI. They want me to do this. You know what I mean? It's just like all of this.
And so many things that people expect out of you. But I think as long as you're secure in your passion, whatever you, and I keep saying passion, but it truly is like you just got to find what you want to do. If that's like, just solving Calc 3 problems all day, go for that, man.
Facts.
Yeah, just go for it, right? If you like it so much and you know that's your calling, it's I don't know, be a prof in math and be like Dr. Aaron Childs, like that's what you want to do, dude. You're gonna be able to use everything you do towards that. And if you're doing that towards that goal, you're going to be passionate about all these little things that you do. And so then it won't feel like an expectation or a hassle or an everyday chore. It'll never feel like that.
Exactly. You want to solve the quantum theory, something, time travel. Go ahead.
Yes.
Do it. 100%. Do it. It's the hardest things you want to do that actually are kind of the funnest.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So how do you deal with expectations?
How do I deal with expectations? I'm at a point in life now where I'm just like, I don't care what other people expect of me. I'm at the point where I'm going to do what I want to do. And if other people are going to continuously tell me these things where you have to do this, oh, you're not going to get a job if you don't learn this, I'll find a way.
Yes.
I'm going to find
That's right. That is the right mindset I think you should have.
You know what I mean?
You got it, man.
That's why, like, now, I'm not even going to lie to you, I kind of stress less about that part. I stress more about the things I do, such as the pod, such as creating other things, right? I stress so much less about these exams because if I'm being honest, like I'm not trying to sound cocky or anything.
Not at all.
If I'm being honest, I study kind of like a day or two before. I still do pretty good, right? I still do pretty decent. That's why I stopped stressing more about these. I start stressing more about what I really want to do and how I'm going to achieve those parts in the future.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
You have that passion towards it. And so, when you're able to kind of block out that noise, that's when you start really taking off. So good on you.
Exactly. Blocking out the noise.
Yes. And I'm lucky I don't have too much noise from people because I'm just a happy, pretty
You seem like a jolly ass guy.
Right. So I don't really have, even my parents, like, I mean, they have very certain things that they might be picky about, but otherwise I don't have too much outside noise. So I don't even think about blocking out the noise. It's just there, bro. I'm happy to be here.
Exactly.
Work towards things I like to do. And as long as I'm making a difference, which is like my ultimate impact or whatever on this world, then that's all good. So that's kind of my outlook on it.
Exactly, bro. Just block out the noise. Yeah. And that's actually something that's very difficult for some people. How would you say how to block out that noise? How would you do that?
Yeah. It's really back to that point of like empathy, of like, I think I'm almost like too empathetic, right? People tell me I'm not empathetic, but maybe it's almost too empathetic because I don't see it as noise because I can understand how other people feel, why they're saying these things about me, why my friend has this expectation of me to do this, why my mom wants me to do this certain route, take this course or whatever it is, right? But because I'm able to understand them and almost like look back and empathize and understand why they expect these things out of me, why they have that strong urge for me to do this, then it's not that bad, it's not that deep because I understand where they're coming from, and whether or not I implement that, it's whatever, because at least I get them. And a lot of people who have this noise and who might feel like, oh, people are hating on them. Well, do you know why people are hating on you? Do you understand that when you start posting content, psychologically people are not used to that and they'll start spreading that negativity. But as long as you get that people are doing that not because they're actually like preying on your downfall, but because that's just the nature of humans and how people function. Like then it won't feel like noise. It won't feel like people are trying to be in your ear and do all this. And once you convert that idea of like, yo, people are not like, even if they are hating on you or dissing you or whatever it is, it's like that's nature. That's just how people are going to be anyways. So when you're able to have that mindset shift of like, and really understand where other people are coming from, it's not bad. Like people use the example of immigrant parents. Oh, if you don't get it on this test, you're getting kicked out of the house. But do you know why they say that? That's how your parents might have grown up, and that's how their next exam in university or high school felt. So I think once you're able to extract it and bring it down to those details, it won't feel like a burden, hate, noise in your ears. Like it'll just feel whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's kind of my advice on dealing with it. And that's why I say like I'm almost too empathetic. But yeah, in reality, just understand people and know where they're coming from, and then I'll be able to help influence and how you approach dealing with that.
True. That's actually a very good point. This is a pretty big question. Once again, I ask a lot of people.
Yeah.
What is your biggest fear in life?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah. Take your time. Don't even stress.
Yeah. I think my biggest fear would be that I haven't found my true calling. Like I say all these things, and throughout this podcast, I've been able to pretty clearly explain what my goal and what my vision for my life is like, and it's creating that large scale impact, creating systems level change for people, whether it be in healthcare or in policy related to that. But I'm worried that what if that's not what I was meant to do, and that's kind of my biggest fear, because I'll always have those moments of like, yo, I wish I made it to the NBA, or yo, I wish I went and pursue this other track of mine and been able to do other things. And my biggest fear is that that's not actually my calling. Although I'm pretty confident it is. What if it's not? And I think, again, because everything ties back to your passion and what you want to do, and what you're truly passionate about. If it's not that, then what's going to happen to me? So that's a pretty abstract fear, but yeah, like I always think about like, what if I did play college basketball? What if I did move up to that next level? Maybe going down that route and being able to help people play sports and inspiring people and being the next Jeremy Lin or whatever people want to say about me is, what if that's my true calling, right? So that's kind of my biggest fear. Although I try to think too much about that, but that's kind of like, I'm not afraid of the little things. I'm not afraid of too much on the everyday level. It's just when I zoom out and look at that timeline, that's kind of what I think about for sure.
Did you always have this mindset?
No, right? So I think until like grade 11 kind of shift and throughout university, I never really had that. It was always, I was just another kid, right? It was just like, how can I get through this day? How can I ace this test? How can I get into university? But once I started seeing things on like a broader level, then it just really shifted for me, because I think I was able to find what, again, I keep saying my true calling. I'm not even that religious, right? I think I'm pretty agnostic in that sense. So I don't think there's like an absolute like thing set out for you, but I think I found that in that sense, right? Yeah, that's kind of what goes through my mind nowadays.
I see.
And it's like always about how can I impact everyone, right? Not that I don't care about these relationships that I have now with people and talking to people right now, but my mind's always just towards that bigger impact on people, and kind of something that I've always stuck with. But yeah,
that makes sense. Finally, the last question, the biggest one. No right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
What is your meaning of life?
Okay. Actually, I think my meaning of life is how can we advance humanity further? Right. And that sounds like such a sci-fi weird thing to say about the meaning of life, because a lot of people will say like, my friends and family, things I care about. But again, I'll go back to this. I'm almost too empathetic, because I know what it means to be human. I know what it means to have people that love me, people I care about, and all the things that I enjoy in my life. And I want everyone to feel the same. So that's why I say advanced humanity, because I want us to experience what it's like to be human. I want others to experience my not my exact journey, but the things that have influenced my life. And I love being human, honestly. And I think a lot of people will agree with that. And so if we can help generations down the line, people everywhere, to be able to experience being human through the highs and lows of what life is, that's my meaning of life. And that's what I want to help achieve is, of course, there's all the things that people might say that are their meanings of life. I want all of those meanings of life to happen and to continue on forever. And so that's my broader goal, and something that I hope to dedicate my life to, and to help people experience exactly what it was that made me so human.
I love it. I love it. That's a beautiful meaning, bro. Or generally, like, when I was looking through everything, I even saw like you were at the TED Talk thing that you did.
Yeah.
You do so many things, and that just kind of inspires me to do more. Right? I'm just like, this is the type of guy you want to have around you. This is the type of guy you want to look as an inspiration to. And I'm sure a lot of people, they're also going to be watching this podcast, and they're going to think the same thing. Like, wow, this guy does so much. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I want to kind of be in that type of sense.
Yeah. And I'll say this though, like I think I've had my fair share of luck, quite a lot of it throughout time, and ending up in a situation at Mac, finding great people, finding great friends, having my family. Like, there's so many great things that have happened to me. So I'm very grateful that I want to make sure people know, and I'm not just some cocky guy up here that's like, oh, my life has been great. I want people's lives to be great too.
Yeah.
But no, I know, and even if I wasn't where I am today, I know the value and everything that happens in someone's life. To just that experience is so much and so valuable, that I want the rest of humanity to also experience this today, tomorrow, 50 years, 100 years down the line, to continue knowing what it's like to be human.
Heck yeah, bro. Yeah. I love it, bro. Bro, once again, I appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks so much, man.
This is Kobe Lee. I'm going to put all of his socials down in the description. You are an inspiration. Thank you very much for coming on, bro.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, dog.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. I'll see you guys in the next one.